So look, I understand that this isn't the first time myself being the one talking about Jerry Jones, but more importantly, like, it's pretty much a known thing in the Cowboys fan base that Jerry Jones, and more specifically his son, have an imprint on this team that have led to this legacy of mediocrity over the last quarter century. The biggest thing is that when people in our community say it, it's kind of like, eh. But when you have someone that worked with Jerry go out on national television and talk about it, now you're having a different dynamic there to where, okay, you know, this is someone that was in the nitty-gritty and really tells you, hey, this is how Jerry was and then how things operated differently when I left. I'm referring to Jimmy Johnson, former Cowboys head coach, and look, there is no secret that Jerry effed up the situation. Jimmy did nothing wrong at all to deserve being fired. I think that's the funny part, is how they parted ways after a Super Bowl victory, and then like, it's just funny to me. So what we're going to go over is Jimmy Johnson's comments on the Herd, and then we're going to look at another clip where Jerry also got grilled by a reporter. And I know that, you know, that language there seems a bit hyperbolic, but to be honest with you, we'll talk about it and you'll see how, if my description matches the bill. So with that being said, before we begin, if you guys could do me a favor and like the video, it doesn't take too long to do, that'd be greatly appreciated. Subscribe if you're new here so that you don't miss out on new content when it drops. And I'm trying to hit 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year, so that'd be greatly appreciated. And on top of that, if we hit that goal, I have to eat 2 of the world's hottest chips live on air. And then if you can hit that notification bell, that'd be awesome. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead, get into what Jimmy had to say on the Herd. I'll be clipping around some of the more important things, and then we'll discuss about that. So let's go ahead and get into that.
Well, yeah, Jerry, he doesn't ever want to admit that he's wrong, you know, and so he's going to hang with whoever, Jason Garrett or whoever, and try to make it work. And, you know, I think he really values the talent on that team such that he feels like McCarthy can be successful and he can improve, especially with Dan Quinn and with Kellen Moore, with the assistants that he's got. So that's a big thing. And Jerry is involved. It's a kind of a funny story. See, Jerry really never came out to practice. He was always trying to pay the bills, trying to pay off that $140 million loan.
Right.
So, you know, he was always working on that. And so the only time he came out to practice, my 5 years there, he would come out on the rubber track the last 15 minutes of practice so he could talk to the media. And so Troy Aikman tells the story. He said, after you left talking to me, he said, and Barry Switzer came on as coach. He said, I knew things had changed because our first practice, Jerry walked out on the practice field with a baseball hat and coaching shorts on. But Troy said, things are different.
You know, what's interesting about that Cowboy, you know, every coach has a strength. Like I've always said, I think Belichick's brilliant. I don't love his drafting all the time. I view you as a great personnel guy. That's why you were so successful in college and the pros, why you had a real sense for personnel. I look at the Cowboys now, and here's my issue. I don't think Zeke on some Sundays is their best running back. I don't know if I can afford their tight end, but I need his production. And Dak without Amari is not quite the same quarterback. They got some issues here on the offensive side, Jimmy. What do you do with Zeke?
Yeah, I think with his contract, it's going to be difficult to deal him. It's going to be difficult to release him. And they've got to live with him. But you're right. Pollard was a better running back most weeks this year. The other thing is, you know, you talk about the tight end, you know, whether or not they can keep him or not, probably not. And then you talk about Cooper, you know, Amari Cooper is the best route runner they have, the most dependable receiver they have when he's healthy. CeeDee Lamb just wasn't utilized enough. Like in the last game that they lost, he was only targeted a couple of times. You got one of the more exciting receivers in the entire league, and you don't target it. You throw it to a tight end, that's going to give you 10 yards. So there were some issues, especially there, you know, in that last ball game.
And look, Coach Johnson has earned every single right to say what he has to say about the Cowboys. You know, he could have been like, you know, I'm not going to go into he just said what he had to say, and I respect him for that. You know, the thing that bugs me the most is a lot of these behaviors that Jerry has are still going on today. It's one thing if you're the owner and you want to take credit for the team's success, but it's another thing when you're actively involved in personnel decisions and you don't know what the hell you're doing. And that's why the Cowboys have not done anything in the last, I'm going to just say 30 years. I don't care what anybody says. But look, what's more important is that, you know, there are ways for the Cowboys to get out of this rut. And I'm going to mention that last. But I want to go to another clip that is not recent, but in terms of, like, Cowboys lore, it is one of the more recent ones. This is, I want to say, in 2010 or 2011. And Jerry Jones gets asked about, you know, hey, what's going on with the front office and stuff like that? Or rather, you know, is it time for, you know, a GM change? Let's take a listen to that.
Jerry, another thing you said on NBC before the game that raised a lot of eyebrows was if there was a GM who'd been in this role for the last 15 years, you would have fired him.
Yeah, but he doesn't own the team.
Okay, so
I'm just saying, what I really meant was that one of the things you do is if you've got a GM that, in this particular case, owns the team, you go in and work on the mirror. And I don't know if that came out on the interview. We talked about it quite a bit.
But at what point do you look in the mirror and say, am I the right man to continue being GM of this team? Or would your team be better with another GM in here?
Yeah, when I bought the team, the night I bought it, I said I would be doing what I'm doing, and that's GM the team, make the final decision on all personnel. That's the way it's always been done. We won 3 Super Bowls doing that, and so I'm going to do it again.
You've also won 1 playoff game in 15 years, so what makes you believe it's still in this team's best interest?
I think that I know how our organization runs, and I know the best way to make decisions and for us, and that's the best way. And I know that's what motivates me as an owner and causes me to basically do the best job that I can.
Look, man, if that clip doesn't piss you off as a Cowboys fan, I don't know what will piss you off. Because my goal is not to piss you off. My goal is to show you the truth of the matter, and that is Jerry Jones has been exposed for who he is, and this isn't the first time. Like the second clip alludes, this was like 10 years ago. Jerry Jones is a lying snake oil salesman like he's been for years. And, you know, it's one thing if he wants to be marketable and the team is doing very well. You know, that's fine one way. But the fact that the team is not doing well, has not reached a conference title game in over 30 fucking years, what does that say? You can't make this shit up. And there are Cowboys fans that make excuses for him. And I'm fucking sick and tired of that shit. Stop sucking them off and realize that these fuckers are the reason that this team has not done anything in my entire lifetime and more than that. You know, it's funny to me how there are legitimate Cowboys fans that have the nerve to tell me, well, you know, there was a different approach in that. Like, what different approach was there? Oh, Jerry was somewhat hyper-aggressive and impatient? Yeah, that's a problem too. You know, and it just pisses me off because there's no way in hell that the players will overcome ownership. There's no way in hell that the coaches will overcome ownership. None of that shit's going to matter. The only thing that's keeping this house of cards up and running and not from falling down is Will McClay. Will McClay is the only source of keeping good talent with this organization. The Cowboys have drafted the most Pro Bowlers since the year 2000 or like since 1996, and they have not a single goddamn championship to show for it. And once again, the biggest point I am trying to hone in on, Jerry, if you know what's good for you, step down as GM, or more importantly, keep the fucking title and just let someone else run the show. Let Will McClay do one thing and bring someone else in that knows what they're doing. Or fuck it, let him do all the decision making. Oh, but, you know, but Space... No, he doesn't. Because if Stephen Jones, and I'll throw Jerry in this because Jerry has the final say in all this bullshit. If you're not going to go get free agents, that makes sense. I'm not saying you go spend willy-nilly in free agency because we know how the Cowboys are there. Get players to plug up holes that are productive and go into the fucking draft and get your value pickups, like you call them, there. I'm so sick and tired of this organization lying to people and sucking your money dry over some bullshit. Yes, I spent a good amount of money to go watch a Cowboys game. And listen, I don't regret going to a Cowboys game. And I'm not trying to pull that bullshit. I love to go watch my team play, whether it be away or home. But that doesn't excuse the fact that, and don't do this whole boycott nonsense. That's not going to work. Okay? You know what you do? You pressure them through. They love to go through the media. You know what you got to do, media? I'm not even just talking about the Cowboys media. Everywhere. You have to pressure these fuckers. They watch this shit. They know that, you know, and they don't care. They don't care. And I don't want to waste too much of your time. But my point is, and if there's anything that I can get out of this video, if we can just listen. Jerry needs to take a step back. That is where the Cowboys will return. Listen, if it means that you have to go get Sean Payton because he's the only guy that you can trust, fuck it. I don't care. But point being is that if you do not let the guys do what they got to do, you're not going to get far in this league, man. And, you know, even if you bring in Sean Payton, shit ain't going to matter unless Jerry and Steven are just twiddling their thumbs around the team. So look, I think that just about wraps up this segment and video. Once again, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Have a great rest of your day, guys. Bye-bye.